After the historic win for the BNP in the Bangladesh parliamentary elections, there is a lot of buzz as to how the BNP views ties with India, especially in the backdrop of the past 1.5 years, where we have seen considerable amount of strain in ties between the two neighboring nations. We are now joined by senior BNP leader, Mr. Humayun Kabir, a close aide of Tarique Rahman, the Prime Minister-elect. Sir, welcome to India today. How does the BNP view the relationship with India specifically? Because we've seen in your manifesto that you talk about equity in relationship with foreign countries, but India would be keenly observing this democratic transition, and we've seen that Prime Minister Narendra Modi was one of the first world leaders off the hook to call up and congratulate Mr. Rahman.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. The relationship with India. Relationship with India is that both our governments, the new elected government led by Tarique Rahman, the BNP government, which has got the people's mandate, a resounding mandate, two-thirds majority, clearly tells you the confidence the people of Bangladesh have on Tarique Rahman and his leadership and his vision for the country. In terms of the relationship that existed under Sheikh Hasina, India must realize that that does not exist. Sheikh Hasina and Army League does not exist in today's Bangladesh. So there must be a reset from the government of India on its relations with Bangladesh, realizing that fact. Sheikh Hasina, after all, is a terrorist who has killed 1,500 people and fled this country. She has attempted destabilizing terrorist activities from the soil of India and sovereign soil of India where she is residing. We do not want to see Indian government complicit in any way supporting those terrorist activities in trying to destabilize our country. So if that is restrained, and India has the mindset to realize that Sheikh Hasina and Army League does not exist in today's Bangladesh, then we will also exercise a positive mindset to bridge that gap.
That's a very specific condition. That's a very specific condition that you are setting, because yes, the elephant in the room right now is the presence of Sheikh Hasina in New Delhi, and she has given certain speeches virtually to her supporters that you think should be restrained.
Of course. I mean, when we could, during Sheikh Hasina's time, on Indian soil, I don't know if you recall, Lord Carlisle tried to do a press briefing in one of the Foreign Press Association clubs, and talking about the plight and human rights abuse on late, Madam Begum Khaleda Zia. And basically, the Indian government were conducive of that because it was a foreign members press, foreign press club, foreign correspondence press club. But it was the direct intervention of Sheikh Hasina and the then rogue government of Army League that contacted and made contact with the highest levels of government in India to then influence and cancel that event. So if that can happen then, why cannot India restrain terrorists in its country, people doing terrorist activities from their country?
So in that sense, what I sense from what you are saying right now, would the BNP government, once they take charge, what will be your first priority? Will it be your priority to seek the extradition of Sheikh Hasina back to Bangladesh, because she is technically somebody who has been convicted by the ICT?
The judicial process will take care of Sheikh Hasina in a very transparent way. As we've seen, one of the trials concluded in the courts. It was done in a very transparent, open way, based on independent evidence. And this is only one of so many cases of killings, of looting money, of extrajudicial abuse. So we will let it be the judiciary's domain in transparently taking her through the legal and judicial process. And whatever the judicial and legal process asks of the government, we will follow.
No, but she continues to remain in India, so she has to be extradited. And you have a treaty with India.
Yes. So depending on the judicial, process, whatever the judicial process demands, we will do as the government.
And as far as the Prime Minister's outreach is concerned, in the past, just in the 1.5 years, you've seen those issues that have been raised, be it issues like the discussions or the remarks by the chief advisor about the Seven Sisters of India, or the Bangladesh cricket team pulling off from the T20 World Cup. These have created a considerable amount of fissures in otherwise two extremely friendly countries who share extremely friendly and historic ties. In that backdrop, the Prime Minister reaching out to Tarique Rahman Saab and the Indian Foreign Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, flowing down to Dhaka to attend the last rites of Begum Khaleda Zia. Do you think that signals a new start somewhere?
We want to believe that it's a new, it's a gesture for a new phase of relations and cooperation, realizing that Sheikh Hasina and Arm League don't exist in today's Bangladesh. We want cooperation. That should be the norm. In terms of we are neighbors in a region that requires stability, peaceful engagement, and economic progress. It is good for us to cooperate, and that should be the norm. Of course, there are challenges, as we've discussed. But if these challenges are addressed in a pragmatic way, then we can definitely progress some of our cooperation and our work together.
One of the biggest concerns that India has, is the use of Bangladeshi soil for anti-India activities and the growing, perhaps, influence of Islamic fundamentalists. We have seen in the past 1.5 years a lot of extremist elements who are otherwise behind the bars. They have been let loose, and that remains a concern. Will that concern be addressed?
Any kind of extremism will always be addressed. It's for both countries to exchange and work together. There is serious extremism also around, Indian borders, not just in Bangladesh. So inside India, we've seen the rise of Indian, extremism, fundamentalism. We've seen very bad extremist, fundamentalist rhetoric used against Muslims, against Bangladeshis. We've seen abuse of minorities in India widely in various places. So we don't, Bangladesh doesn't have such communal disharmony. In South Asia, it is one of the most, cordial and, communal harmony, I would say, is better than anybody else. So we don't need to check our records for someone else. What we will ensure is that we exchange. There should be cooperation, security cooperation, and we should have an exchange of information on that. And it doesn't benefit anybody to destabilize anybody's territory. India should not, destabilize our territories in the northeast, in the hill tracts, and we need to come away. These are all politics, and you've got to look at no sane politician, political leader will gain any advantage point by trying to attempt and destabilize sovereign territories. So between us and India.
Do you believe that India has a hand in because there's a serious allegation in destabilizing certain parts of Bangladesh?
It existed in the past. So India has claimed on Bangladesh. Bangladesh has claimed on India. So it has. In the past we've had that. So let's not talk about the past too much. Let's look to the future. It's between us and India, we share 1 billion plus young population. We can always look forward. And if we keep, referring back to these past abnormalities, then we always, we're just stuck and stalled.
And that is an interesting note, because even within the BNP, we see that there has been a generational change. Because Begum Khaleda Zia's demise and the baton has been passed on to his son, and Tarique Rahman, of course, will be taking oath as the new Prime Minister. So it is a generational shift. So in that sense, you're saying that this is India-Bangladesh relations looks forward to a positive new direction.
Yes, of course. And you see, in Bangladesh, it is not possible for a religious-centric party to come to power because the people in Bangladesh are tolerant. People in Bangladesh, the society is more tolerant. You know, what we've seen in India, there is possibility of religious extremism coming into power. There is possibility of, communal disharmony.
The anxiety in India is that there shouldn't be another Pakistan on the Eastern Corridor.
The anxiety, then, also India must exercise responsible behavior. So the anxiety drives from home. If if you have disharmony at home, so if India is having communal issues at home, it first needs to get these things right, and then it can talk about. I think yellow journalism. It needs to come out of the mindset of yellow journalism, fake propaganda, all the time, and this is not working. The world is not buying any of this anymore. People are moving on, and people even question whether they'll start questioning whether free media should be based in India. We want to move on to positive things. We want to have a positive relationship. PM Modi has made a great, kind gesture, called on the leader. We've had a very cordial, exchange. And I think we can build cooperation because that's the norm. That's the way it should be. We will have tensions, but if you don't talk, you will never diffuse these tensions. So you should never. Dialogue is very important. You never should close the door of dialogue. You need that. And that is the norm of the international diplomatic order, whether it's in the region and beyond. So we will definitely, we want a form of cooperation with our neighbors, and India, we want to have good relationships. We want to strengthen our bilateral relations. The challenges we've talked about, obviously, that will remain. There will remain challenges, but we have to deal with them in a pragmatic way. The rhetorical politics will exist to an extent. It is politics. You will see West Bengal politicians, making extremist, demands in the next few months just to get quick votes at home. Sometimes you get that here in Bangladesh as well.
Do you think that does impact does it have an impact on the bilateral?
Of course, the sentiment then grows. Because the sentiment that the young people in Bangladesh and society at large carry is that India was the principal sponsor of all of Sheikh Hasina's crimes, because Sheikh Hasina sold India in that way to the people of Bangladesh. So India needs to now reset its relations to show that this dirty image that Sheikh Hasina painted on them is far from reality. And
so in that sense, you are saying the fact that she continues to remain in New Delhi will always act as some sort of a hindrance in normalization of relation between the two countries.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if she remains there and continues with terrorist activities that try to destabilize, then it will be a problem. If Indian government is seen as complicit in supporting that rather than restraining it.
So she needs to be restrained, is what you are saying. And lastly, you harped on those points, but just to add to it, that this one of the specific concerns that India has raised through statements by the Ministry of External Affairs during Mr. Yunus's interim regime is the fate and the security of the minority Hindu community in Bangladesh. So what would be your response to that once you are in power?
First and foremost, tell me, are the minorities safe in India? If in the neighborhood, if we see minority abuses, India, as I said, it should come out of the line of thinking that minorities are not safeguarded here. Communal harmony in Bangladesh is better than any country in the region. And we've seen that with the vacuum in the government following the uprising. Not a single mandir was touched, But in India, we've seen people jumping up on mosques, breaking them. So, there
have been incidences of Deepu Chandra Das being lynched and burnt.
Obviously, these are one-off, very grave incidents. We've seen that, but they don't happen in their hundreds like they do in India. So, in terms of what we got to do, if we are going to play these rhetorical games, we will get nowhere. So, you deal with your communal problems. and we're dealing it in a far better way than you have. So, it was we can showcase our communal harmony to the world. India cannot. But there are other things that India may do well, but in that direction, I think India needs to tone down its rhetoric because it doesn't add up. It's based on yellow journalism a lot, and it hasn't helped itself by promoting fake propaganda. So it will come out, and I believe the rhetoric between politicians taking extremist lines also don't help. We have never had any, religious parties in the democratic space in Bangladesh. It's difficult. Our people do not believe in, sort of any kind of rigidity in governance. They won't accept that. But, in India, you see some of that accepted in society. That rhetoric gets them votes. In this country, in our country, the rhetoric, if a politician gets up and says, kill Hindus, he'll be thrown out. He will not get any vote. That is Bangladesh. So India, needs to deal with its problems. And we are concerned about Muslim minorities in India. We're concerned about Christian minorities in India. So, it exists. So let India deal with its own communal problems and come away from the rhetoric of trying to tell others on how to.
And one last question. There is a lot of anticipation as to once Mr. Rahman is sworn in, when is he going to visit India? So will he choose India as the first country for his bilateral visit?
No. In terms of the first priority is to work on the development and economic prosperity of the people of this country. They've given him a big mandate, a huge mandate of authority. Yes, historic mandate, which shows the confidence people have on Tarique Rahman's leadership. So the first priority is to settle down, address the domestic challenges. Then at some point, he will make regional visits, and then he will consider India as one, as part of, other visits in the region.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kabir.
One thing I would like to also say in conclusion is that, 20, 30 years we've been doing rhetorical, politics sometimes dominates, this communal violence, this religious thing, aspect of propagating and tainting each other. We've got to come out of this mindset.
The template must change.
Yes, the template must change. And we need to reset. And if the mindset is there to change from both countries, we can do things together. And PM Modi's gesture is a very, it's a stepping stone in the right direction. External Affairs Ministers meeting, coming to condole the tragic passing away of our iconic leader, Begum Khaleda Zia, and the kind words that he exchanged with our chairman, Mr. Tarique Rahman, is I thought is reassuring, and we can move forward in a new phase of relationship. So it's good. We want to think positively, and of course there will be challenges. So that we'll deal with the challenges practically.
I think that's a very positive note, pragmatic note to end this conversation, because all eyes would be on India-Bangladesh ties. Very, very consequential. As most say, you can't choose your neighbors, so you'll have to live with them. And India and Bangladesh are two friendly neighbors. It's a conversation between two extremely deeply friendly ties, not a enemy state, and therefore the kind of strain that one has witnessed in the past 1.5 years doesn't do good to the interest of both the countries. So time for a reboot, a reset for this relationship. And Mr. Kabir, as he said, it's time perhaps for a change in template. Will the Indian government pay heed? That's a big question. This is Indrajit reporting from Dhaka for India Today.